Okay, so we are going to learn how to start a new loop. You do this when you have a new client. Whether or not you are putting in an offer at this time, signing a listing agreement at this time, or just signing representation docs, you need to start a loop so that way your client has a section or you have a section for your client's paperwork. So once you are logged into Dotloop, you are going to immediately go to Add Loop, which is here in the upper right-hand corner. We'll do Add Loop. Here is very important. Do not type in any addresses here. Contrary to what it says, it asks you for property address or MLS number. Do not type that in. The reason why, especially if this is a buyer, you don't know what address he's going to end up purchasing, right? So don't put an address here. But more importantly is when you start to type an address, it will pull the documents and the loop that has already been created from the other agent if they also are using Dotloop. And it gets very cumbersome and you're looped in. She can see your paperwork, you can see hers. It is not, you want to make sure that it's kept separate. I honestly think it's a glitch in Dotloop, but either way, so you never start off typing the address, because if I find the address right here, I do not want to click on that, okay? So what you do instead, because this may be linked to another Dotloop, so what I do instead is I type in the name of my client. If I do have an address, I'll type it, but most likely I won't. So you could type like this. Okay, notice nothing is pulled up that matches this, okay? And even though it's giving me the option to select something, I make sure that I don't. I make sure that I just have it on here and hit continue, okay? This is going to be a buyer template in this case. You can upload a photo if you want. I don't ever. And it's now creating your loop. So enter in the name of your client and basically push through to continue. Once you get to this screen where you have finished, it'll tell you here at the top that you have finished, click on it, click on the house, or you can even just click view loop, either way. And it gives you what appears to be all the documents you could possibly need for a buyer's file, okay? The first thing I do is I go ahead and get rid of things that I know I don't need. So for example, the house that we're going to put an offer in on is a 1 to 4 family home that does not have an HOA. But I know that my client does want the washer dryer and is paying cash. So I need the 1 to 4 family residential contract. You see this is under buyer offer folder. I don't need the third-party financing addendum, so I'm going to go ahead and archive that because it just becomes too much. Get rid of the things that you don't need now. And when you go to turn in your files to me, I don't want to see any excess documents. The first thing I'm going to have you do is go back in and clean it up. So archive that. There's no HOA, so I'm going to get rid of the document that's addendum for property subject to mandatory membership. So we'll get rid of that. Non-realty addendum, I know that they want to ask for the washer, dryer, and the refrigerator, so I'll leave that one there. Authorization to furnish Trilla Respa. So basically this document is a form that can be turned into the lender if your client wants to sign it, saying that it's okay if they release some information to you about the process of the loan. In this case, we'll go ahead and archive that because remember, he's paying cash. Compensation agreement between brokers. This one you'll keep in here. General information and notice to buyers. This is a really great document. It's about 4 or 5 pages long. It's kind of lengthy, and you can send it to your clients, but it's not it is optional. In this case here, for the sake of example, I'm going to archive it, but it is something that you can have your clients sign. Wire fraud, you definitely always want to make sure that your client gets that. I like to move that up because these are mandatory representation documents. So you have a buyer's representation agreement, information about brokerage services, which is your IABS, and your wire fraud warning. So these 3 things are your must-haves. Before you do anything, have them sign these things, okay? And actually, what I do is I get rid of the buyer's IABS here, because this one, if you open it, it's blank, right? It doesn't have your contact, your name, your email. This is not mine. This is just the general one from the brokerage, right? So what I do is I get rid of that one. I'm going to archive that one. And earlier, a few months ago, I actually created a template that already has my IABS. So under representation folder, I'm going to add a document. I'm going to go to templates because I've already created this as a template, like I said. And under my little personal folder here, I already have my IABS that I have uploaded. And so once I get this into Dotloop, I can open it and I can see that my information down here is already filled out, okay? One thing I am gonna fix, because I keep forgetting to do that, is let me just cover up that date, obviously, because that's not something that we fill out for our clients. Okay, so we do keep the transaction cover sheet. We'll need that. You do need to keep your team transaction cover sheet. In this case, we don't need the W-9 because we're not sending this to somebody that needs our W-9 in order to pay us. You usually do that for like apartment complexes or something if they need to upload us into their payment system. That's not the case here since the title company pays us. And this is the mandatory loop submission checklist. You guys can go ahead and delete this because I'm going to be the one that actually submits all your documents to the brokerage. So this button up here where it says submit for review, this is for me. You do not need to mess with this, okay? When you have a file that's ready for me to review and approve, I will review it. Once it's good, I will submit it for review, okay? So this is what this particular deal looks like. And again, if he didn't have an address, it might just say Sam Smith because maybe we just started our search, right? In this case, we do have an address because I know he wants to go ahead and put an offer on something. So I hope that helps. This is just how to set up your Dotloop.